Dear viewers, welcome to another issue of Time to Do. Healing and recovery are important issues when something has upset our balance and when we suffer a serious illness. Then it's important to know, how can we restore our health? What are the possibilities? Do operations and medications always have to be the only solution, or are there other ways to get you healthy and active again? We have two guests today. You already know one of them, and we have a great example of how it is possible to regain one's health with an alternative method. I'm glad he's back in the studio today. Welcome, Nikolai Lackmann, and welcome, Beatrice Bombardieri. She learned a method that changed her life. But now, we'll start right at the beginning. Nikolai, for viewers who don't yet know what you do and how you do it, two main themes determine what you do: the word Dao-Yoga and the word paranormal surgery. In short, Dao-Yoga is a system. What does it do? Why should people do it?
Dao-Yoga is actually the first part of the treatment. Dao-Yoga is kind of a spiritual yoga. People learn how to feel energy and how to treat themselves with it. In addition, there are many other aspects of how to purify karma and so on. This is simply part of the treatment because you have to work at all levels.
This means that this is the first step to also perceive yourself spiritually.
Yes, exactly. To connect, to perceive everything spiritually, to feel energy and also to activate the body for self-healing. That's actually the most important thing. That's about 50% of the total treatment.
And this is always done before paranormal surgery is used?
Yes, mostly. Only in urgent cases can paranormal surgery be used first. The Dao-Yoga has to be learned as soon as possible. Usually, it's important to attend the Dao-Yoga course first and then use the paranormal surgery.
You're talking about energy and energy pathways, about letting it flow again. Is the cause of illness in humans due to the fact that the energy flows are no longer functioning?
In general, on the subject of energy, if, for example, a person has not yet worked energetically, our energetic process does not even switch on.
Interesting.
Through Dao-Yoga, you activate this process. It's very important that the energy works and finds all the blockages, cleanses everything in the body. This energy is also used for the treatment. Thus, the energy is additionally increased, so to say. The more energy someone gains, the more it works for him. At some point, it will automatically work all the time.
Now, I also realize why some people said that the ailments were gone after practicing Dao-Yoga.
Yes, that often happens in the seminars too. Even during the days, people are practicing. You practice a lot and very intensively for several hours. During the course of these days, some already get results.
That's fascinating, of course, and you can always practice Dao-Yoga. I've already explained this to the audience. I was also allowed to learn it. And what do I do when I'm stuck in traffic, like on the freeway? Then it's great to do this. You already sit, you put your feet on the top of each other, you put your hands into the desired position, and then you can do that wherever you are. And it makes more sense than getting upset that you're stuck in traffic, because you can't change it anyway. That's why I always use the time to do something sensible. The second part you do, Nikolai, is paranormal surgery. Maybe say a few words about how this works.
Paranormal surgery is, in simple terms, an operation without knives, with all these cuts without blood and so on. I just do it with my hands. One can say that if someone has any disease, such as an osteoarthritis or organ complaints, it means that false information is stored in the subconscious. By the treatment, I change the information to the correct, healthy information. For example, that the joint is healthy, no arthrosis is present. We exchange the information, and the new information goes not only to the subconscious, but also directly to the cells, and then the joint starts to regenerate. That's why the results are already coming up, not sometime later, but immediately after the first treatment. The patient changes immediately.
Very nice. What happens during paranormal surgery? We have to imagine that you basically do with your hands what a surgeon in the hospital does with a knife.
Yes.
In the end, your mental power is the knife that transports this will to the place of destination and does the work that the surgeon does with a knife or other instruments.
Yes, you can say so. The same without all the side effects and so on, because nothing is really cut open. It's about working with information and with the subconscious. You could say you're activating the body's self-healing powers. There's a lot of work going on. That's the most important thing. In principle, you are the one who instructs the body to heal itself. Yes, that's exactly the goal. You also work energetically by giving energy, but you also work mixed. Everything comes together because first of all the patient works with Dao-Yoga. I work energetically and activate the subconscious mind and the whole body. Then the treatment takes place on all levels, including the psychic and spiritual levels, the energetical and physical levels, and so on. Everything is worked through, same on karmic level, because it must really be done everywhere, not only...
Exactly. A holistic method that also takes into account the etheric levels of the body, and when an operation is performed. It is performed on all etheric and coarse levels. And this is actually successful, because if you look at surgery, you're only working at the body level. We often got feedback that people got an operation and then got problems with their energy state. Then, for example, it was discovered that during an umbilical hernia, the chakra was cut and could not longer work energetically. Of course, that wouldn't happen in a paranormal surgery. You pay attention to such things, knowing that afterwards you have to mend something like that again, so to say that it works again.
You can say so, yes.
I'll come to you. Beatrice, why don't you tell us what was going on with you before you met Nikolai Lackmann, before you had to go to hospital? How did this all start? Your problem, which finally ended in the hospital, how did all that begin?
Well, first I had a tumor on my lungs. I then underwent surgery, and 1/3 of my lung was removed. It all went well. It looked good. They also had an extra lymph node examined, and they said it looked perfect. I stayed that way for 1.5 years. But the doctor told me to get back to chemo again. I said, no, if everything is fine, I don't want chemotherapy. I'm not in favor. That had gone well. I also went to work, well, 1 year ago. Then I was examined again. And after a PET CT, they said there was sudden metastasis.
That means you originally had a tumor on your lung? That was then... May I ask, did you smoke before?
Yes, but I quit at 30.
So you stopped long before this tumor developed? And later they discovered that the metastases of tumors also began to develop in other areas.
Yes, on the pleura. Then I sat there at the lung specialist, and he did an examination to see what kind of tumor it was, and so on. Anyway, it turned out to be an aggressive tumor. So there were metastases on the pleura. Besides, one of them sat on a rib. On a rib, down here. There's the rib down here, and there's the tumor sitting on it. There he had eaten my rib for over 2 centimeters. It was already 2 centimeters long. After the examination, I was still at the lung specialist, He told me, based on the results of the examination and everything he saw, there is nothing he could do anymore. I wouldn't survive Christmas now. Or I could survive it, but it would probably be my last Christmas.
That happened when?
When was that? Wait a minute. Last September, October, no wait, October, November, about a year ago.
So October 2017.
Exactly. And then I said, now what? He told me there was nothing more he could do for me. My husband was there. And so I said, yeah, well, you didn't. Oh, excuse me.
No problem.
Excuse me.
That's natural when you receive a message like that. That's not exactly great, of course. If you're told that you might survive the next Christmas,
That's it.
but this will be your last one. That's no good news. I understand that.
In any case, I asked, what are we doing now? And how much time do I have left? He replied he didn't know, he couldn't tell me. Then I asked, now what? And he said the most he could do was take away my pain. I have to see an oncologist. He couldn't help me, so I had to see an oncologist. There you could make sure that I have less pain. That's when I said, for Christ's sake, I might commit suicide right there. So he said, well, not now either. Good, that was done. I went to an oncologist. There everything was examined again. Then the oncologist said, I needed to do chemo. I said I didn't want chemo. I'm just against chemo. So he says, yes, they give it in a study. I can't just choose immunotherapy right from the start. He conducts a study. And there was a study exactly fitting for my case, according to which I could actually have the right immunotherapy. But I had to do the chemo first, and then I can do immunotherapy.
I see. These were fixed procedures of measures, and either you do all of them or you cannot have this therapy.
Right, that's when I said, and in the end I have to pay for it myself.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, so later I said, okay, fine. Then I asked what the chemo was for, and he said the pain. I said, my body is not yet so contaminated. I actually want an easier treatment, something that isn't so strong. Then he recommended two types, a stronger one, where, for example, the hair runs out and everything, a stronger one and a lighter one, where I keep the hair. A few fall out, but most of them you keep. And the hair is important to me. I'm sorry that the hair is still important to me at that moment.
I can understand that too. Women without hair always look a little weird.
Although, afterwards, I thought about it. If there's so much pain, then a light chemo also works. Well, then we did the light chemo, because the stronger one would have taken 2 weeks and I would have gotten it every day. Now I got one about every other week, and that 4 times. So I was granted some physical recreation.
To have a phase where the body can rebuild itself.
Yes.
Was there another examination afterwards to see if there had been any changes in the rib tumor?
Yes, I got to tell you that. I have a sister, and she had something similar, also cancer. And she looked around for alternatives. I just did not. I don't believe in such things. I really don't. And then, afterwards, I'm sorry I really didn't believe it. And then my sister had already been to Mr. Lackmann. She had already succeeded. She said to me, "Little sister, this can't be. You have to see Mr. Lackmann. It's really like that." I went to him and he told me all that stuff and I thought, no, no, no. And then she just said, "Now look at his homepage." I did that and studied it all. And then I thought it was something for me. Somehow I got the feeling it was the right thing for me. Then I called my sister and asked, "How fast can you make an appointment with Mr. Lackmann?" She said, "I don't know, I have to ask him." I said, "Do it, because I had appointments by now. I only started chemo after Mr. Lackmann. That's important, because I'll say something about that later. After Mr. Lackmann." And then Mr. Lackmann told me to come and gave me an appointment. He said, "We just have a course right now."
A Dao-Yoga seminar.
That was mid-November, a year ago. And that's when I said, "Well, I'll do it." But at first I was skeptical and talked to my husband. And my husband said, "Yes, do that." I must honestly say I had nothing left to lose.
Finally, yes.
I really had nothing to lose anymore. That's why I agreed and arranged all this and did the Dao-Yoga seminar with you, Mr. Lackmann. And he said that this helps right from the start, so it works immediately. Then I looked at him in disbelief, always skeptical. But I did what he said every day. I did it, and I did it, and I did it. That was until mid-November. My chemotherapy started in December, but I was averse to it. And already in the first week I lost weight. The stomach really contracted. That's when I lost 8 kilos. And so I told myself it can't go on like that. And I called Mr. Lackmann. He told me to come over. So, in between, I think it was in the lunch break, I got the appointment. I had practically not eaten anything. Well, I stood in the front of the mirror and said, "No, that will not do." And then he treated me.
That's when you did the first paranormal surgery.
Yes, then we did that, because chemotherapy had already begun to show side effects. And paranormal surgery can stop these side effects and even prevent others from appearing later. That's why we just did a therapy as soon as possible.
Okay.
And then I just told him I couldn't eat anything. Afterwards, I walked out of Mr. Lackmann's building and I was hungry like a horse.
That worked immediately.
Yes, really, really. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I had a coffee with cream and I took a soup and I really, really, really slurped it in. Really, it was enormous. Well, I didn't believe it myself. And then I went home to my husband and he asked me, "What's it like?" And I said, "I don't know what this man is doing. I don't know what he's doing. But it worked. I really don't."
So, if I may interrupt right here, please don't lose the thought. To get to the point again, the story of Beatrice proves that you don't have to believe in what you do or what you say. Yes, I have to say that same sentences over and over again to myself. I can do it completely without emotions. I can leave it up to you to do it, and it just works through the body. Is that right?
Yes, you can say so, because our subconscious does not care whether we believe or not. It absorbs and anchors the information. The important thing, of course, is not to work against it. This is important. If you don't believe in it, it's not bad as long as you do exactly what I say. That's easy, just that. Do the exercises, that's it. That's all you need.
That's the way it is with everything. It is the same with driving too. You don't have to believe your car's moving and there is an engine in the front. What the driving instructor tells you to do, you can drive the car.
That's it.
You were in the first treatment. We heard you could eat again. Then what happened?
After that, he continued the treatment and accompanied me through chemo in this way. I have to say in advance, the doctors announced I would get very tired. So I knew what chemo would do. And I can't do my household the way I used to. I have to say, after I did chemotherapy, I was actually tired on the first and second day, even if it was a mild chemo. But on the third or fourth day, I could run house like nothing. I even made the beds. My husband asked me, "What did you do? Are you crazy?" I said, "I can do it." So that actually and really gave me the energy. I never would have thought that, never. Because the doctors had warned me that I would get tired. I thought it would get bad. But it was only on the first and second day like this with me.
Das ist nur der erste und der zweite Tag bei mir gewesen. Also für mich war das der erste und der zweite Tag.
I would also like to ask Nikolai about this again. You already have more experience with people who undergo chemotherapy who ask you for attendance. Does this paranormal surgery in any case help to overcome it more easily and to have more energy again?
Yes, well, in my experience, it works that way on everyone so far. If people do chemotherapy parallel to my treatment, even if it's a strong chemotherapy, you can basically observe that the hair does not fall out. And chemotherapy very often causes this nausea. It doesn't cure. So actually there were no side effects. People felt very good, as if they hadn't done chemotherapy. People felt healthy.
And above all, I mean, I understand that women aren't excited about running out of hair. We men don't like that either, let alone women. But as I said, if paranormal surgery can prevent these side effects, well, hair is a purely external beauty and not so important. But it is a part of feeling good. And I say, a woman standing in front of her mirror in the morning, still having her hair and her hairstyle, just feels much more feminine than if she is bald. You may and must see it that way. It's therefore important that any chemotherapy with such an accompanying treatment with paranormal surgery would be a great advantage.
Yes, that's a very big advantage because people really feel completely different. So I know what side effects chemotherapy has. I've seen a lot of people. And you can avoid that with paranormal surgery, and of course, Dao-Yoga is an additional support in the whole thing. If the person is alone at home, Dao-Yoga gives additional energy and shields him from the side effects. This is also a good additional effect.
That's what I wanted to say. If the side effects are blocked, of course, the goal is reached. This feeling during chemotherapy and paranormal surgery, did it persist? Was it like that all the time, where you fit in your energy? Could you do your things?
Yes, indeed. And I was amazed myself, because it is really like that. And Mr. Lackmann's method really helped me personally. And I'm one of these who have to run around.
Dynamic and...
Yes, exactly. Sure, I had to step down. I knew that, and was aware of too. My body showed me until here and no further. But the next day I just rationed my energy. After all, I could do it. It was very important to me that I accomplished everything.
That you remain independent in life and can fulfill your task as you like.
Yes, that was important to me.
So, the chemotherapy treatment started in December last year. For how long?
The chemo lasted until... Wait a minute, that lasted until February. But something else happened in between. Since I didn't believe in it the whole time, he always looked at me and said that we would fix it. But I always looked disbelieving. The second chemo was already over because I know I never forget that date. That was the 5th of January when I had to do a CT. I was afraid. Mr. Lackmann always said, "You don't have to be afraid, it works." And then my husband was with me, and of course we were both afraid, reasonably. And then the picture appeared on the oncologist's screen. He looked twice. Then he took the ruler and measured. And it had gone back 5 millimeters.
Very nice. So you could see on the CT, on this X-ray, let's say that the tumor on the rib had become smaller.
Yeah, he even had to measure because he didn't believe it. And even then, I think he didn't believe it yet. He said he wanted to discuss it with someone else.
With another doctor to verify again it's really true. Dear viewers, you heard it. There are always possibilities, and we do not want to demonize conventional medicine or speak ill of these methods in our broadcast formats. It is crucial that there is a positive result for each individual. We just heard it from Beatrice. It often happens that one has certain anxieties or does not know about new ways dealing with etheric issues, being afraid or disbelieving. We should try to put both things together. I think we'll get the best results then, and how Beatrice's case went on, we'll hear right after the commercial.
timetodoshop.ch. Hier finden Sie die Produkte der Gäste unserer Sendung. Nahrungsergänzungsmittel, CDs, DVDs, Bücher, Essenzen, Heilsteine, Bilder, Körperpflegeprodukte und vieles mehr. Die Produkte unserer Gäste www.timetodoshop.ch oder Sie bestellen einfach per Bestellhotline.
So, dear ones, we are back after our short commercial break. In our studio today, Nikolai Lackmann. Our topic today, how paranormal surgery and Dao-Yoga can provide support for the most severe disease patterns and even lead to healing. Present in our studio is Beatrice Bombardieri, who tells us about her case. Once again, my big thanks for doing this, because many viewers don't know about these things, and today perhaps they hear it for the first time. Today they hear how it worked. Beatrice, we talked about how you didn't think that would work at all. In between, we asked Nikolai whether or not you need to have faith in it. He replied, "No, you do not have to believe in." But what is decisive, and I would like to go into this again, is that people really do what you tell them and that they don't work against it. That is, to negate that again and again, saying that won't work anyway and everything will stay like it is now. Of course, you're pushing your subconscious back into the negative direction.
Yes, exactly. And of course, that you do practice Dao-Yoga, for example, only once a week, and you don't do it for the rest of the week. So that you really do the exercises and the task I teach.
So there has to be a certain discipline and consistency behind it.
Yes, and as you said, don't you support this negative information anymore. That's it. That's important.
So you went to the doctor, we stopped there. He measured, the tumor was 0.2 inches smaller. That was a great result for you.
Yes, that was great, of course.
Did that change your faith in these things?
At that moment, I could have kissed Mr. Lackmann. While I was with Mr. Lackmann, I also felt the power. I really did Dao-Yoga every day. And you could tell the difference, so that I could do all that during the chemo. That felt right for me. So that means I can just use my power anywhere and somehow it felt simply right for me. It restored my vitality.
That's important, to regain enjoyment of life and being active again. So that was in March, this investigation. No, on the 5th of January, you said.
On 5th of January and afterwards, I had 2 more chemotherapy sessions. Those were really 2 intensive chemos. And because I didn't really want the chemo, I didn't accept it. I was aware of that.
Another thing that's related to it,
I didn't really want to do the last chemo anymore. But everyone said, "Why don't you do it?" And he also told me to just finish this. We'll make it. Actually, I did so. We finished the chemo. Well, then, how did it go on? I had to get another CT picture done.
Und nein, dann haben wir, oder 5 Millimeter runtergegangen ist, genau. Dann haben wir,
After that, he sent me to radiotherapy for bone irradiation twice in a row. And I remember that very well. It lasted until Easter, from mid-March until Easter. I wanted to leave Easter, and he supported me with this again. I mean, I don't know if I can stand it. He said we can do it and gave me the strength, and actually we carried on until end of March.
I'd like to interrupt you again. Nikolai, now we've heard, on the one hand, 2 chemotherapies with your treatment and support. Now, on the other hand, radiation is something else. This has an effect on the cell substance that works really with a high energy effect that they try to sizzle the tumor on the bone, just to say. That has a serious general effect. Do you have to work differently here, or does paranormal surgery work the same, whether the chemo or radiation? What difference does it make?
Doesn't matter. It's all exactly the same. We've continued the treatment the same way we've continued chemotherapy. Exactly same treatment, everything completely the same.
And how often had the treatment to be done between January and March, Easter to cushion the side effects?
In total, I think we have done 20 times up to that point. 20 times until March in total.
Right.
That was still manageable. How did that make you feel? How was your physical status at that time? Were you able to do your things, your household too?
Yes, yes.
Did everything feel good, despite radiation and chemotherapy?
Yes, it is the same with radiation. On the first day after the radiation, I was tired. Again, that also occurred for 1 or 2 days. It's always been that way.
Until the body has probably adjusted to this new strain.
One's body has to dispose it, supported by Dao-Yoga, of course.
Your body has to work a little more, but then it goes away.
Divert it.
After that, you feel great again.
But again and again, Dao-Yoga. I practiced Dao-Yoga every day. That was understood. Well, I just had to.
That's why we are so well positioned if we do so.
Yeah, that was so. And then it was over. The second CT was done in June. And there was nothing left. I have to mention that I did not take any additional medication during the chemo or radiation. None at all.
Has the doctor recommended taking some?
Yes, especially the first time when I was sick. I was given these tablets, but after I could eat again and everything was fine, I didn't take anything anymore. Or when I was given painkillers too. But I have all that.
These are, of course, heavy drugs that get into the body.
I didn't take any of that.
Well, if you're not in pain, that's gone with the treatment, why take medication? There is no need for that.
I always had pain, though, but never as strong as predicted. I just had, like headaches, actually, and they came and went. There I also said to Mr. Lackmann, the body toils hard. He simply drudges. And yes, I simply believed Mr. Lackmann.
Yes, they are. We know that too, don't we? After the treatments, the body continues actively, which means that when the patients leave, it's not yet finished. The information you put in by paranormal surgery, it's still working.
Yes, until the next treatment, the energy work goes on and on. That's right. And in the course of this, it's visible on the body.
And sometimes, of course, it shows weaknesses. That's understood. There's a lot of action going on in the body, making it partly tired.
For example, some pain can occur. As soon as it vanishes, it becomes even easier, even lighter than before. The body finished working it out, has dealt with the challenge, and then it gets even easier.
This is, of course, a nice result if you know afterwards, okay, we often talk about these first aggravations. Means, when a treatment is applied, often heard about homeopathy and naturopathy, the patient first experiences an aggravation before it completely goes away. This also seems to be similar in paranormal surgery.
It comes somewhere in between, not immediately at the beginning. It may occur again and again. The changes are coming. First the amplitude gets high, then down again, but already deeper down. Then it returns again a little higher to sink even more down. It goes up and down, but the range decreases, getting less and less.
It degrades slowly in intervals.
I tell people this so they don't get scared. If there is pain, I say, wait a day or two, it will go away and become lighter again. And people say, yes, it's exactly how it happened.
Was it the same with you?
Once I was in treatment, I was in real pain. He told me to come over and he treated me. Then I went home and my husband asked what it was like. I said, I don't know what that man does, but it's useful. I'm not in any pain now. Then 2 days later, there was a bit of a pain again, but...
Was it like it became lighter and lighter and the pain became less and less and the intervals became longer until the pain then came?
Yes, yes.
So, just like you described it.
I told my husband, I don't know what this man is doing, but it works for me. It works for me. And he said, be happy. And me like, yes, I'm very glad.
We simply discover through these new methods. And as I said, in Russia, they are much more advanced simply out of necessity. This is also, they call it space medicine. Why? They had to develop a method to care for people when they get ill in 40,000 kilometers away from Earth. And then, of course, in Russia, they started to use these methods on Earth as well. Why? There are no such huge pharmaceutical companies as in Europe that have showered us here with all sorts of pills and substances. There they worked out more with nature and used more the forces of man. And that's why the Russians led the way. I've been doing this for a few years now because I'm personally interested. And I've heard in many interviews that this knowledge of combining etheric and coarse material and information will produce the best results at all levels. And now today, as I said, we have the living proof here with you. We are now back in July last year, so you had to do another CT.
Yes, my husband was always present at the meetings. We had always worked and everything was fine. And the tumor was gone.
All gone?
Yes, it was all gone.
This means the physician hung the picture on his light box again and then searched for the tumor?
But it was really gone then. It was gone then, I must say. Yes.
What did the doctor say?
Nice, good. And I said, yeah, I like it too. Now he just said, super, it's gone, we're lucky.
So, here's the proof for me. If you put both methods together and everyone uses what he has in his spectrum of knowledge in the best possible way, the topic of chemotherapy and other therapies. As I always say, if a doctor handles them responsibly, and they don't aim to driving turnovers to dizzying heights, when they combine methods wisely, so I mean, it could not have been better, could it? And considering you were told about a year ago that you may hardly survive Christmas, and then that's it. Actually, when I look at you, you look very dynamic and cheerful. I don't think that you're feeling bad. How are you feeling?
Well, I have got more to say. I did the last CT 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, right now. The tumor was still gone, and there are no other tumors.
So, there was no scattering and no signs of any metastases, nothing.
No, after the chemo, I started the immunotherapy. I have to tell you that as well. And the immunotherapy, so far I've done this, and I've still been working with him. Well, I still do that.
What's the difference between chemotherapy and immunotherapy? I don't even know this topic, immunotherapy. What's different?
I don't know. He explained it to me. They're like cops, he told me, who actually eat the bad cells. So the blood cells, I don't know, the red ones or the...
It's the whites, our guards. So apparently the immune system is being pushed for working more strongly.
Yes, that's it.
And all, I say, cells that are not in optimal shape are getting eaten up or taken over or whatever.
Zellen, die nicht in der Form sind, wie sie optimal sein müssen, dass die dann, wie gesagt, ja, auffressen oder übernehmen, ausleiten, was auch immer.
Exactly. But immunotherapies also have side effects. They can even have a lot of side effects, like diarrhea, lymphatic problems. Yes, there can be side effects. I didn't have any of them because we were working on it. The blood was always super good from right the beginning, from the first chemo until now, within the scope that the doctors have. Plus, minus, but it moved always within that range. I never had any trouble with my blood. I didn't have any trouble with immunotherapy either. I don't.
Also, no dizziness, no headaches, no sleep disturbances, all these things that occur otherwise.
I had sleep disorders during the first week of chemo. That was all.
Yes, well, such a chemotherapy is a huge burden for the body.
Yes.
But that was only at the beginning, as you say, until the body has adjusted to it. Yes, and then it's done.
Not later. No.
It is very important that people can sleep so that they can regenerate in time to face the challenges and be strong. I particularly liked it when we talked about it in the preliminary discussion. And I said, man, this is a sensational example of combination of methods. Above all, I like that you are so honest to say, I do not believe in it. For me, that all was...
No, you know, when I saw him and he talked to me, I looked at him sometimes for a minute thinking, damn, what movie am I in with this Mr. Lackmann? No, no. And then, what the doctor said, and that's when I always thought, no, it really can't be. But I had nothing to lose, really.
That's the other side of it.
Then I just did it. I'm doing the Dao-Yoga, really. I had a cold once, a serious cold, in summer. Then I felt really bad and I even stayed in bed. I couldn't get up. But I did the Dao-Yoga. I did it right. Even on vacation, I always do. So I'm sticking to that, I got to say.
And that's when you notice your whole energy system going up, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
This is really something amazing. Above all, we know that I'm also sometimes overtired due to stress and driving. Then you don't get enough sleep. I notice that when I have to perform a film production, when I have to be fit, then I do Dao-Yoga before. And then energy is just there. I don't know how it works either, but it works.
Yes, I always say I don't know what this man does, but it works. He tells me I'm doing my part. Right? I'm helping myself with Dao-Yoga.
What you actually do in training, Nikolai, you basically lead people to purify, strengthen, recognize, even feel their energy systems. And when they are ready and understanding, I still remember the exercise with a cold drop of water in front and the warm drop in the back. I didn't feel it different at first. Only when I did it a few times, I suddenly felt it, like what you imagine in your mind. Yes, you suddenly feel physically that this drop runs cold here and warm from behind. And I think it's important that we are starting to feel each other again.
Yes, exactly.
And then we can do much more and can also deal with our body differently, and we also feel such initial reactions. So far, we've been a little dull here and even don't think about it.
Yeah, stress.
We focus on our brain, the outside world, we are stressed, and when our body reacts, we suddenly come to a halt and then we are shocked. What now? I've always been okay. Did the doctor have an assumption what causes your lung tumor?
Yes, of course, smoking.
Well, with you quitting smoking at 30. Now, I always tell people that can't be. My grandfather smoked 45 years, has experienced 2 wars and no particularly good times before and after. He was 90 years old, has smoked a box without filter every single day, and as long as I've known him. So I dare to say that can't be the argument. There must be something else.
Right. Afterwards, I thought, can't be after so many years. I mean, I'm over 60, 30 years now. I don't believe it, no.
The lungs regenerate completely.
That can't be true. Yeah, well, I didn't say anything anymore. What for? I have to look into the future.
That's true. The region where you live, without naming a place, are there any industrial companies nearby?
An airport.
Oh my God, all right, we don't need to discuss that any further, yes. So there are large studies on flight attendants who have become seriously ill solely due to cabin air and so on. But that alone would fill a whole story if we discuss that. So, this means that you should not look for the simplest argument saying, yes, you smoked at that time, that's why you now have lung cancer. No, there are other things at work. I had a professor here not so long ago who said, you have to look at this way. Pollutants who have inhaled 50 years ago during a whole day, we inhale today in a city like Zurich in 5 minutes, while we wait at crossroads until the traffic light is green. Standing at a very busy intersection, he said, we inhale in 5 minutes as much as we inhaled in an entire day before. And now you have to imagine what amount of work our body does today with all these diverse substances that come into us. And that's why it's even more important that our energy budget level is always kept high. That's why I tell people, no matter what you do a Dao-Yoga class and bring it into your life. Only 5 minutes a day to get this flow of energy back up and feel myself. You get much stronger and your defenses strengthen, and not every virus that lurks in any corner will knock you off if you walk by. We all know the flu season at the turn of the year, and Dao-Yoga is good for that. And when did you have your last flu?
Oh, flu. I don't know. Well, at least before. I've been practicing Dao-Yoga for 15 years. So ever since I started doing that, I haven't actually had the flu in a long time. At least not for 15 years.
I also can say having a cold is an absolute exception for me that hardly ever happens to me. Although I always have that warm-cold problem, sitting in the studio, out of the car and doing outdoor shootings, indoor shooting again. I get a cold every now and then, but only for a day or a day and a half. My recipe then is Dao-Yoga, hot lemon and Schüssler salt number 3. It works in a day. In the evening, I go to bed sweating overnight. Next morning, I get up, try to eat well, eat a lot of fruit in the morning, and, as I said, mostly 3 eggs because of the protein, to increase my protein metabolism, and I'm back on the stage. Others are sick for a week when they've got the flu.
Well, when I had the flu and had to exercise Dao-Yoga in bed, he doesn't like it when you do Dao-Yoga in bed because it's likely you're falling asleep, he said. But I had to, because I was really sick. I really exercised my Dao-Yoga, but it took me 3/4 of an hour.
It is more difficult while you lie down than in a sitting position.
After 2 days, I was able to get up and do my Dao-Yoga as it should be. Of course, I still had a cold, but it wasn't that bad anymore.
You're just more powerful.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to say. More powerful. The energy was just back.
Back to you, Nikolai. Dao-Yoga, paranormal surgery. We should summarize that one more time. Does it work on all the symptoms we know? Are there things where paranormal surgery cannot help, where you have to work with different methods? Do you have any experience where you had to say, I can't act here?
Yes, well, you can actually handle all complaints, but it has to be legally allowed. You can really treat anything allowed in the context of law. You can treat any kind of discomfort, cause it's all about changing information in the subconscious.
Means you are not allowed to act on diseases that are on the disease index.
Yes, for example, any viral infectious diseases.
HIV.
Yes, HIV, for example. Yes, of course, you can't do that.
This means that paranormal surgery finds its approach wherever the normal surgeon does, wherever a normal doctor treats and provides support. Now we have seen cases where people came looking exclusively for your help and did not seek further usual medical treatment. To make it clear again, you always tell people, go see a doctor, get medical advice, so that you hear another opinion and then we can work. Why is that so important to you?
For example, in chemotherapy or cancer, it is very important that you continue working together. It's essential to do your part that these two methods work together. This gives the very best results. And of course, there are no side effects, and chemotherapy does not do any harm. We increase the power of the immune system through the treatment so that there are no side effects. But the actual effect of the chemo then simply does the job.
In principle, that means the effect of the chemotherapy is maintained and the side effects are eliminated by Dao-Yoga and paranormal surgery. That's a perfect combination, isn't it?
Yes, and there is an additional treatment for the disease on a different level through paranormal surgery and Dao-Yoga.
How will you continue? Do you start this immunotherapy now?
I already have.
You already have. How long it's gonna last?
I've got to do it now until I don't know how long I'm gonna have to do this. I want to get away from it too, eventually. We work together, and at some point I don't want to do that anymore.
Want to have it all done to know we don't need that anymore. It's all gone now.
Right now I have the feeling that would be a bit too early. I'm still a bit afraid, I must honestly say, but I think it'll be fine.
And I have the feeling that your trust is growing more and more as you work with Nikolai Lackmann. And I think it's really great how open you are to say, I didn't believe all that back then because that just didn't happen in my upbringing. Now I see there are other things beyond. Thank you very much, especially for having the courage to come to the studio to show the audience your way and what solutions there are to fight your way back to life. And now you have the next 50 years to do all these things that were not possible until now.
Hopefully so.
You got it as a present. This Christmas would have rather been your last one. Now you've got 50 next Christmases. Nikolai, I say thank you to you too. We see a great result and I very much hope with these good possibilities that many more people in a similar situation as Beatrice can take advantage of your help. So, they just have an easier way, you know? It's a great story if the attendance works like this. The patient can do both, has no restrictions. As I said, the hair stays on the head where it belongs. Then, of course, we have a wonderful result.
Yes, and what is very important also, even if it's said there's nothing left that can be done, that does not mean that there's really nothing possible. There is always a possibility, even if, from a medical point of view, everything seems to be lost. Even in such cases, like this one here, for example, there are still possibilities. You don't have to give up hope really because you can't do it, even in very difficult cases.
I'm glad you remembered that once again. Exactly, even if the doctor says that he's reached the end of options with conventional therapy and there is no hope anymore, nevertheless, do not lose courage, but rather look around for alternatives. Because what can you lose? As you said earlier, the only way would be to exit, and that's it. I think not an option at all. Thank you for visiting again here in our studio, Nikolai, and good luck to you, and the very best health to you, Beatrice. You have heard it. Even if it's a hard time in life and you are faced with a decision and perhaps already think about of ending your life, there is always hope. Stay open to possibilities and jump over your shadow, doing things that you may not realize or recognize at the beginning. Because life only counts results. And if then life continues with zest for life and quality of life again, what better can happen to us? In this sense, all the best to you and see you next time.